The first tab that we're going to build is the master data. Think of your master data tab as a central nervous system of your entire spreadsheet. Every other tab we build later, whether it's tracking sales, managing stockouts, or generating purchase orders, it is going to pull its information from this exact sheet. So if your master data is messy, your automation breaks. So we're going to build this with absolute precision. So let's start looking at the columns. First, we have the core identifiers, which is the SKU, the description, and the mapping. So the SKU stands for Stock Keeping Unit. This is your unique internal code for every single distinct product or inch you sell, set by your team, which defines unique combination of codes that will refer to your specific item. Description or item name, the human readable name of the product, like t-shirt, red t-shirt, crew nut. On fulfillment center codes, if you sell on platforms like Amazon or use third-party logistics, their warehouse system often assign their own tracking codes to your items, which might differ from your internal SKUs. So we're putting this column here so your spreadsheet can automatically map and translator fulfillment centers reports into your system instantly. Warehouse name, if you split inventory across multiple storage hubs, this column ensures you always know exactly where a specific product line is physically sitting. Logistics metrics, cases, box, and pallets. The unit per case, box per pallet, and logistics sizing. Why do we need this? Because as your e-commerce brand grows, you stop shipping single boxes and start moving bulk freight. This brings us to two critical freight terms you need to know: the LTL, or the less than truckload. This is used when your shipment is relatively small, say 1 to 6 pallets. You're only paying for a portion of semi-truck's trailer, sharing the rest of the space and shipping costs with other businesses. FTL, or the full truckload. This is when your shipment is massive enough to fill an entire dedicated semi-truck trailer, or when you have high-volume warehouse transfers. So by defining how many units fit into a case, or how many cases will fit a pallet right here in our master data, our template will later be able to calculate exactly how many pilots or trucks you need to book for an inbound shipment. So let's now go to the supplier and financial guardrails. So the final section of our master data handles your supply chain constraints and costs. So the MOQ, minimum order quantity, this is the absolute minimum number of units your factory requires you to buy per order. We store this here, so your automated purchase order tool never accidentally draft an order that is lower to what your supplier will accept. So the COGS, or the cost of goods sold, this is your total inbound landed cost per unit, what you paid for one product, plus what it cost in freight, duties, and customs to get into your warehouse store. So the supplier name, who you are buying the items from. The lead time, this is the total number of days it takes from exact moment you pay your supplier deposit to the moment those goods physically arrive at your fulfillment center and are ready to be sold. This includes production time, ocean or air freight, customs clearance, and warehouse receiving time. Now let's move on to the core of our dashboard, the Inventory Snapshot tab. Why do we call it a snapshot? Because the moment you open this sheet, it gives you an immediate high-level view of your entire operation. It shows you the live status of the stock sitting in your main warehouse, what is currently deployed in your fulfillment centers, and instantly plug exactly when and where you need to trigger a replenishment shipment. So let's start building it. You will notice that the first 10 columns here are the basic product attributes, which is set up in our master data tab. We need these core identifiers on this page so our snapshot can successfully pull live inventory counts and sales metrics from the raw data reports you will be dropping into the system later. And don't worry, I will show you exactly how to build those raw data tabs shortly. Here is the true power of having a dedicated master data sheet. You don't need to manually type this information ever again. All you have to do is plug in your SKU or product code into this first column, and our lookup formulas should instantly auto-populate the rest of the basic information across the row. So this creates a highly scalable system. If you launch a new product, you simply add it into your master data once, and exact same information becomes instantly available on your snapshot. So if you continue your product, in the future, you don't have to rip apart your spreadsheet or delete your historical data to keep things clean. Your master data acts as a single source of truth, keeping your daily snapshot fully automated and error-free. Now let us set up the inventory summary columns. In terms of spreadsheet design, it is entirely up to you whether you place this summary block at the very beginning of your snapshot or tucked away at the far right end. However, I highly recommend placing it right up front. When you're managing logistics, you want your most critical data to be the very first thing you see the moment you open the file. This inventory summary section is going to track 4 key buckets of data: the main warehouse inventory, what is currently sitting in your primary storage, the fulfillment center inventory, so we'll be setting up columns for FC1 or fulfillment center 1 and fulfillment center 2, but you can easily scale and add more columns if your network is larger. So in transit stock in production, this column tracks the future inventory. These are the units that you have already ordered, are currently under production at your supplier, or on the water making their way to you. Total available inventory. This is your most important metric. We're going to write a simple formula here that only sums up the stuff in your main warehouse and your fulfillment centers. It purposely excludes your in-transit units. Why? Because you need a clear, hard number of what is physically on the ground and ready to ship to customer right this second. Next up, we build the fulfillment center block. So we divided this section into 4 distinct parts: the inventory, the sales and forecast, the days of supply, and replenishment. So for this tutorial, I'm going to build this using Amazon FBA as our primary fulfillment center model. So first, the inventory block columns. Since we need to track exactly where our stock is within the Amazon network, we set up columns as follows. The first 2 means that the stocks are already in our fulfillment centers. First, we have available. These are the units that are physically sitting on warehouse shelf, ready to be packed, brought, and shipped to a customer's right this second. So reserve inventory, this is the summary column for units that are tied to either pending customer orders, moving between warehouses, or undergoing internal Amazon processing. They may not be available for sale yet, but they're just in the warehouse and soon will be made available for sale. So the next, we have the inbound inventories. So first, we have the inbound working. These are the shipments you have already created in your system, meaning you have already created the labels, but they haven't been picked up by the carrier yet. So make sure, since the inventory is still in your physically in your warehouse, make sure that they have already been deducted from your warehouse inventory to avoid duplication. So the inbound ship, your inventory is already picked up and currently being transported heading to Amazon warehouse. And the last, inbound receiving, when your inventory already bombed the dock, and Amazon is currently receiving the item before they will be moved to available status. So finally, we will add a total FC inventory column right next to this, which is just a simple formula summing up your available and inbound, all of your available reserve inventory and your inbound inventory. So you know exactly the total inventory allocated for your FC1. Next, we have the sales and forecasting block. So tracking your historical sales correctly is the only way to automate your future replenishments. So the forecast column here, this is your projected sales target for this specific platform. So we place this here purely as a benchmark, allowing you to instantly compare your actual sales against your target. We use this forecast to add up mainly on the total company's forecast in doing purchase orders from suppliers. But this is also a good way to compare what we had projected last month. We can make adjustments on the forecast if necessary, if we saw a big difference or a forecast error just for this platform or fulfillment center. This is 7-day average sales. This calculates your daily sales rate over the last 7 days. This is a highly sensitive metric used to catch sudden viral spikes or dips. This is also used as a benchmark for the 30-day average. If you notice a huge average, you can manually adjust or check if your sales is really increasing or decreasing, or there were just a promotion last week and this spike is just an outlier. So 30-day average or 30-day sales rate, this is your stable baseline. It smoothens out the daily noise and gives you a highly accurate average daily sales rate from the past 30 days. So manual column, this is used like if your marketing team, for example, tells you that you'll be having a promotion starting next month, which the current instructed through transferring right now will be affected on that marketing. So you'll be shifting or you'll be using a different device or sales rate. And this is where you're going to put that manually. So SR to use or sales rate to use, this is the master column that will drive all of your replenishment formula. So by default, we always set this formula to the most reliable, which is the 30-day average. But you can, if you spot a massive trend on your 70 average, or if you put a manual promotion rate, you can tell this column to use that number instead. It gives you a total control over the automation. Moving on to part D, the days of stocks or the days of supply, BOS block. This section answers a single critical question: how much time do we have left before we run out of stock? You notice that we just mirrored the exact same headers we use in our inventory block, which are the available, inbound, and total. However, instead of showing raw units, we're going to write a formula that takes your inventory count and divides it by the final sales rate to use. So we set up in the previous step. By doing this, the spreadsheet instantly converts your physical units into time. So it tells you exactly how many days of runway your available stocks gives you and how many days your inbound shipments will add once they arrive. Finally, we reach part 4, which is the replenishment engine. This is where the template stops just tracking data and starts telling exactly when to ship and how much to ship. So at the very top of these columns, we need to set 2 parameters. First is the lead time. This is the total time it takes from the moment you create your shipping labels to the moment the inventory is fully received at the fulfillment center. So a closer FC from your warehouse might take 7 to 15 days, or if you're just shipping SPDs. But if your transfer are like cross dates or you're moving LTL or FTL, your lead time can take 30 to 45 days before your items will reach this available status. So for our baseline, we will average this to 30 days. So just to explain SPD that I have mentioned earlier, SPD stands for Small Parcel Delivery. So in Amazon, SPD refers to inbound shipment, made up of individual loose boxes packed with inventory rather than bulk pallets. So when you create an SPD shipment, you pack your goods into individual cartons, which strictly follows like size, weight limits, typically under 50 pounds per box, and ship them using carriers like UPS, FedEx, or USPS directly to the fulfillment center. So now let's move on to the second parameter, which is the replenishment point. This is your alarm bell. When your days of stocks drops down to this specific number, the sheet will flag you that at this time to create a transfer shipment. Okay, so let's now move to the computed columns, which will tell you how much exactly is needed in order for you to fill the gaps. So let's define first what is optimum level. So, this is your lead time plus your replenishment point. Your total available and in-transit stock should always hover near this level so you are never overstocked or paying unnecessary storage fees. So in this case, your optimum level is your lead time is 30 plus your replenishment point is 50, so a total of 80 as your optimum level. So let's now move the computed required days and units. So dish columns calculate exactly how many days of stocks you are short and translates that directly into a raw number of units you need to transfer as is. So for example, currently you have 68 days of stocks and your optimum inventory should be 80 days of stocks. Your computed required days of stocks is 80 minus 68, which is equal to 12, meaning you are short of 12 in order to be at the optimum level, which is 80. But since your days of stock is still at 68, you are not yet at the replenishment point. So the computed units will simply multiply 12 by the sales rate to use. So now let's go to the 2% block or the adjusted law. So what is the difference? So if you run a serious operation, you're in shipping loose units, you're shipping full cases. So this section takes that raw unit requirement and automatically rounds it so it is perfectly divisible by the units per case metric we establish in our master data. So it breaks this down into exact unit number of cases, so your warehouse know exactly what to pack and what size of truck to book, or if you're just needing an SPD. If your computed section says you need to transfer 1,632, so under your adjusted units, it will compute 1,632 divided by 25, so meaning you have 65.28. You can achieve 0.28 cases. Instead, your adjusted will compute it to 66 cases. So 66 cases times 25 units per case, that equals to 1,650 units. So meaning instead of 1,632, your adjusted column will tell you that you need to ship 1,650 so that it will be divisible by 25. Since you changed the total units to be shipped, you will now compute how much work of these you made on the changes. So in order to do that, you're just going to divide the new units to the sales rates to use. So just for you to know how much has been adjusted from the computed values to the adjusted. Okay, now the final column is our final total DOS or days of stocks. So it is the final safety check. Just simply add how much the available lease of stocks and your inbound days of stocks together, giving you the ultimate comprehensive health score for your inventory at a specific fulfillment center. So your final total DOS should not be or should hover around your optimum level, which is 80. Are you getting value from this tutorial so far? If so, don't forget that you can download the exact template we're building right now completely free. Just look for the link in the pinned comment below. But remember, it's only free for the first 100 people who grab it, so make sure you claim yours. Now, if your business is scaling and you're outgrown a single fulfillment center, you might need something a bit more advanced. I've engineered a premium enterprise-grade inventory management ecosystem that handles up to 3 separate fulfillment centers simultaneously. It features live in-transit stock tracking, advanced replenishment dashboards, and fully automated purchase order engine that calculates exactly how much to order from your suppliers, when to place the order to avoid warehouse stockouts, and your optimal ordering frequency. If you want to take your operational command to the next level, click the premium link in the description. It's available right now at a very affordable price, along with our full catalog of specialized supply chain and automation templates. And that wraps up our core foundation for today, but right now it's still just a static spreadsheet. Next Tuesday, we turn this into a fully automated engine. I'm going to show you how to build the columns for your second fulfillment center, set up your raw data tabs, and link everything back to this main snapshot. By the end of next week's video, you'll be able to simply drop in your raw exports and watch your entire dashboard update instantly. If you got value out of today's build, please hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you are notified the second part 2 drops. Keep optimizing and see you next Tuesday.